Motion to approve with those amendments.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cost, a second from Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, item number 2 is approval of our minutes from June 12th, 2019, regular meeting of June 26th, 2019, and regular meeting of July 10th, 2019.
Motion to approve.
I have an amendment. So what's the procedure?
Well, we got a
Second.
motion to approve, but,
Second
But you-
with discussion, or?
Second.
okay, second with discussions, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to amend the June 12th minutes, just where I was quoted on page 16, last paragraph, last sentence. Change it to read, she felt Reverend Watson channeled and imbued Barbara Jenkins' strength in the face of adversity to everyone in attendance.
Okay, motion to approve with the amendments.
We get a motion from Councilman Bover. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Goin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to awards and presentations. Up first, we have Family Promise of the Board presentation. Councilwoman Cost.
Well, I'm really happy to invite Tara up to the podium, talk about Family Promise. We spoke probably over a month ago now, but she has been working with the faith-based community to mobilize resources for the homeless. And this is just one of the, I think it's one of 3 programs you do. Is that correct? But they have a very holistic, integrated approach. And Cocoa being so rich in the faith-based community, having 60-some churches, I thought this was something we really would like to look at. Thank you for being here.
For sure.
Yes, ma'am, it should. Yes, sir.
Yes,
That's
it
all.
is. Okay. I have a very moving video that appears to have some sound issues, so I'm sorry that I'm not able to share it with you. I hope to come tonight to tell you who we are, what we do, and how we are currently collaborating in the city of Cocoa. But who we are is Family Promise of Brevard. We're a nonprofit. We are a community response to ending family homelessness by collaborating within our community to provide families with the support and resources they need for long-term housing stability. So we're working with families who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. And since we began over 5 years ago, we've assisted over 1,900 households by preventing or diverting them from homelessness by using what already exists within the community, like our faith-based partners. So I wanted to talk a little bit about 2 collaborations we're doing in Cocoa. One is called Hand Up, and it is an initiative to work with families before they become homeless. Last school year, in the packet that I gave you, you can see that there were nearly 3,000 students, kindergarten to 12th grade, who were quoted as homeless. That number doesn't count birth to 5, and we know birth to 5 is about 40% of all those who are homeless. Why are there so many homeless students within our community? I think most everyone in this room can attest to the fact of that gap between income and housing. That housing continues to grow, the cost of housing and affordability grows, and income remains stagnant. And so we have 40% of our population in Brevard is what we would call ALIS, that asset limited income constrained employees, but still cannot afford housing in Brevard County. So we have families who are working 2 jobs, and they still cannot afford housing. And what happens is if they're working, they're living paycheck to paycheck, they have nothing in reserve, then a major life event occurs, like a family breakup, we have some kind of medical emergency, we have a hurricane come through, something happens, families don't have any funds in reserve, and they're ending up falling into the first-time homelessness like never before. So the number I just gave you is up 143% over the past 5 years, and that's really why we became operational to help fill that gap. So the Hand Up collaboration we're doing is working with families before they become homeless. We put case managers from Family Promise at Central Brevard Sharing Center with Dave Brubaker, and we work with families who come in there for basic needs, and we also ask them the question, are you at risk of losing your housing? Are you interested in learning more? And we can help families with back rent mortgage assistance. And we can also assist with first and last month's rent and security deposits. And that program started over 2 years ago, and we've assisted 1,700 households alone just with that one program. And that really is just that collaboration within COCO. And so we have now expanded it into Titusville in the hopes of making it a countywide program so that the accessibility is there. But the main collaboration that we're doing, why Councilwoman Foss invited us here, is our emergency shelter program. We did not build a building to shelter families. What we do is we went into the community and we asked our faith-based partners, would you be willing to host families in your churches? And would you also be willing to provide the volunteers to spend the night with them? We'll provide the beds, we'll screen the families and provide the case management. You provide the safe spot, and oh, by the way, also nutritious meals. You're gonna provide 3 nutritious meals. And then we're gonna work with them from moving from homelessness into house. And we've been doing that for the past 5 years with an 88% success rate. We've helped 122 families, over 400 people through this model. So every dollar donated by anyone in the community, through any grants we've received, is matched by $3 of goods and in-kind services. So we have a couple of churches in Cocoa. We have a total of 30 who participate in this network, but there's 500 congregations in Brevard County. I think there's 62 within Cocoa. Christ
Yeah,
Central-
over 60.
Yeah, Christ Central is one of them and has been participating for over 3 years. The coordinator, Mick Anderson, I'm not sure if there he is. Mick's been part of that. So each church has a coordinator like Mick, who we say, hey, this week we're sending you 4 families, and this is what's going on. These are the family compositions. These are their preferences. This child is allergic to peanuts, and they then open their doors to their church. They set up bedrooms, and they stay with the families during the week. They provide them nutritious meals, and it's from Sunday p.m. to Sunday a.m. And then the next week, another church takes a turn. And so by having a shared response, it's not a burden on any one church within our community. And so it's a shared response to ending homelessness. And I'm proud to say that Pastor Rich, who made the invitation, is now our 30th church that just joined the network with First Baptist of Cocoa just down the street. He's going to host in September and December to assist us. Again, we provide the resources, but they're providing that safe overnight space, the nutritious meals, and that unconditional volunteer support. And we're helping the families move from homelessness to house. So how can you help? Educate others. I gave you the information in the packet. I hope that you'll share that. I hope that you'll introduce me to others that you think could be part of our network. It cannot just be our organization alone. We're part of this community response of we need faith-based partners, we need government partners, we need corporate partners, we need city groups. We need everyone to be part of it because it's a situation that's continuing to get worse, not better. We've seen the statistics show that unless we do more, we're going to continue to see families truly struggling, and we know that we can do something about it. Happy to answer any questions you might have. I'm sorry you can't see the story of Janet and her son Jonathan. They are residents of Cocoa. They are homeowners now. They went through our shelter program. They went through our aftercare program where we worked with them for a year. Her son is a straight A student in high school, and they're just an amazing part of our community. Is it going to work in? Yes. All right. He's going to try it from another one.
So Tara, my thought was that with 60-plus churches in Cocoa, that possibly with the help of my council mates, we could even organize some sort of summit or facilitate some sort of coming together of the faith-based community to at least alert them and try to recruit them to the program so that we can be a part of the solution.
It would be amazing. I know that our resource center, for example, is donated by Grace Fellowship. Grace Fellowship gives us space there to operate out of. It's really helping to educate our community about what is the face of family homelessness. Well, that's why this video and who's Janet? That's Janet worked with the Space Center for 23 years. She has a PhD. She became homeless with her son Jonathan. This is the face of family homelessness in Brevard. She was not able to find employment and lost her housing. We were able
could you possibly email all of us this presentation so we could at least have it to share?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, up next, we have a proclamation that Councilwoman Cost is going to read for Florida Water Professionals Month.
Yeah, and I'm really proud to read this. I don't know if you knew this, Jack, but the Florida Water and Pollution Control Operators Association is actually an affiliate of the national organization I work for, the Water Environment Federation. So proudly I read this proclamation, whereas the Florida Water and Pollution Control Operators Association, organized in 1941 as a not-profit trade organization that promotes the sustainability of Florida's water utility industry through workforce development to protect the health of Florida's citizens and to preserve the state's water resources. And whereas this organization offers water and wastewater treatment plant operator and water distribution system operator training courses required for the state of Florida licenses, 8 voluntary certification programs, and and continuing education programs for operator license renewal. And whereas this organization is recognizing the importance of the Florida statutes and administrative code that regulate the water industry, acts as liaison between the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and industry personnel, and whereas the Florida Water and Pollution Control Operators Association recognizes all those who have played a significant part in operating and maintaining drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater systems in Florida by celebrating Florida Water Professionals Month, which applauds their constant efforts to protect our health and environment 365 days per year through sunshine or catastrophic storm. So, now therefore, Jake Williams, do hereby extend greetings and best wishes. And just to say to our own operators, I mean, they are the first line of defense in public health, and they do not get nearly enough credit. So, glad to hand this proclamation for your signature.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll get this to Jack here after the meeting. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to item number 3, which is the Cocoa Village Playhouse. I don't know whether to call you Stacy or Drama Mama.
Drama Mama.
Good evening, and thank you so much for inviting us to share our upcoming season. It's so great to see everyone, and thank you for allowing us to speak early because we do have our first audition of the year at 7 o'clock tonight. We're continuing, and I would like to introduce 3 of the young people who are going to be critically involved this year working with the HCBA and et cetera, and that would be just standing up, please, Jason Craze, Jeremy Phelps, and Chris Beavers. So we are very present, working in collaboration with as many organizations as we possibly can. One of those being Cocoa High School, and we had the joy of presenting their concert this past weekend. We are so proud of them. And to get the amount correct, the funds that were raised that are about to be given to the cause of Cocoa High Chorus, making it up to Carnegie Hall, $7,799.52 was raised.
Stacy, by the way, that doesn't include the $20,000 that we raised in sponsorships.
Yes,
Yes.
that's just the general public, the population. And what I would like to say is, yes, we are the performing arts center right here in Cocoa Village, based with community performers. However, we are so much more than that, because with every single show, we have a community service project attached. We are known for pet adoptions with the Brevard Humane Society, so it is a lot of work, and it's not just the performing arts, but we do believe in the arts and what the arts do, especially for our young people. And what I'm about to give you to Mayor Williams is our brand new, hot off the press, season brochure. And this brochure scheduled thus far. And we are in rehearsal or production every night, between now and I think Thanksgiving might be the first day, that we aren't. So we're going to give you a supply of these, but the leaders are also going to leave some out on the table. And one of the things that I'm very, proud about is keeping our, ticket prices affordable to families. Family entertainment is basically the theme of our 30th season. And the brochure right here is specifically to bring to you the season. So your choice of the season ticket, 4 shows, out of about 19 offerings, 18 or 19 offerings. And that is at a cost of $104 for general admission, $96 for students and seniors, $72 for children. Now, something else that's in this brochure is also auditions. And as you know, one of the things that we are known for and very proud of is our children's programming. So all of the Stars of Tomorrow information as well as auditions is in here. Now, single tickets go on sale September 3rd, and you're also able to continue buying season tickets on September 3rd online. So this is the season pitch, and we need you there to support your historic Cocoa Village Playhouse. We're going to leave a supply of these out on the table, and given with the administration, Matt Furr over here, we also have a small brochure, which is really good for you to put in your pocket and take and share with others. So, I would like to also say that this weekend we have, the Hot Pink Motown concert all weekend, 4 shows, and again, a local band performing at our theater. The Spotlight Series is for local artists to present their talents on our stage. One of those things you'll see in here, we've partnered with the Magic Dove again this year to bring the Florida State Magician Contest in January to the theater. So these are just a few of the things. You'll also see us fundraising drastically. Every single thing we do, we're raising funds, whether it be for the Playhouse or whether it be as partner. So are there any questions? I'm trying to remain brief, but you can tell how excited I am. I'm excited about this theater. And we invite you to leave your everyday world and come and audition and be a part of our theater. We train you. You can ask Leroy Darby. We train you. Do not be afraid. So, Mayor Williams, I'd like to pass these to you, but are there any questions that any of you may have?
You're trying to get Leroy Darby to sing for us tonight.
Thank you, man.
I,
If you would like that, we'll rest that wonderful world right now. Leroy was most recently in our Louis Armstrong original production of Louis Armstrong's Wonderful World. Very, very proud of that production. We're also known as the only people crazy enough to take on original work, and that was our most recent original. Are there any questions, comments? Here's our Hot Pink cards.
I do have a question, Stacy. How many years have you been excited about Cocoa Village Playhouse?
Well, I tell everyone I came with the building, and it was built in 1924, so I don't have nothing to do right now. But I have been at it. These papers are making me crazy. They're sliding everywhere. You'll see on the front of this that we're celebrating 30 seasons, and we chose pearls because pearls is the 30th season symbol, if you will, and I have been there for 30 years and very honored to serve and hoping to serve as long as I absolutely can continue to have this excitement. So I always will, no matter what.
Well, we're very fortunate to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
up next, we have our Cocoa YMCA.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for letting us come and present the Cocoa YMCA. Thank you, Councilman.
Pleasure having you.
Appreciate being there. My name is Dan Ickes. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the YMCA of Central Florida. And we have in the house tonight, we have 6 of our board members of the local Y. We have Jack Mason, we have Leroy Darby, Lang Houston, Dave McCaffrey, Rashad Wilson, and we have Brenda Warner as part of our board and the local board. So I just want to thank you. Guys want to stand? You know, as we're here to kind of talk about the Cocoa Y and what's going on with Cocoa Y. You have the presentation in front of you, and so I will quickly kind of go through a little bit of the history. In 2002, the gentleman in the room, Robin Fisher, if you would stand. Robin Fisher's been a 30-year Y volunteer. He signed up for 2 years and didn't realize it was a multi-year term. But Robin ran the Y over here when it was an independent Y. In 2002, they merged with us as the YMCA of Central Florida. And then in 2004, we've had the opportunity to put a YMCA in Cocoa. At that point in time was the Brevard Community College. You all remember, and just so reiterating, thank you for your original gift of $350,000 that you all did with our partnership, and you paid out over a 5-year period, and you were able to help start the Y and where we are today. And so Cocoa residents, college students, and faculty is on the college campus. And so as we move forward, here's where we are. When you look at 2018 statistics, we served over 4,900 people in membership and programs at Cocoa Y, 286 silver sneakers and 418 youth sports programs, 236 people in aquatics. 100% of the Cocoa Y members are on a reduced rate, we call the Brevard Community or the Brevard County membership rate, which is less than our Orlando rate. 60% of those members are on financial assistance. So when we say the Cocoa Y is important to the community, it's extremely important. And you can read the rest of those other statistics there that make this very, very important. And so when you look at our Silver Sneaker program, 280 seniors come into the Y 5-6 days a week, and they get an opportunity to exercise and be healthier. There's a little testimonial on 75 workout group classes 6 times a week. Thanks to the Silver Sneakers Y program, that person's a testimonial on what's going on at the Y on a regular basis. And so as we look at the last 6 years specifically, this is the number of people that have come into the Y. Silver Sneakers totally, when you start looking at sports registrations and you start looking at individual donors, this Y is what we call one of our community outreach Ys in our association. And I'll give you another statistic here, which is important. I've taken the liberty to show the Cocoa Y as it compares to South Orlando, which is on Oak Ridge Boulevard, and OBT, Wayne Dench is in Pine Hills, and Osceola is right there in downtown Kissimmee. And all 4 of these Ys are community outreach Ys to the Central Florida Y. And so we are in business. We do a lot of things, and we spend a lot of time with these 4 family centers, and we have other Ys that are membership Ys fully, and they help support these Ys as we move forward. And so I know the population number I have up there is the unincorporated part of Cocoa, and I think your population of residents is like 19,000. This is kind of the unincorporated. I'll show you another slide that will show why I'm showing that. And I also know that the median household income in incorporated Cocoa is around 30,000. I'm showing you the unincorporated numbers here, but you can see how the demographics look in a 12-mile radius. This is kind of an idea why. This is the Titusville Y right here, and every one of these green dots is showing you, and this little amoeba here is really the 12-minute drive time. And you can see the number of members of Titusville Y, and then you see our Cocoa Y sits here, and then the 12-minute drive time is everything in blue, and then each purple dot is a Y membership. And so when I say the unincorporated part, we look at a 12-minute driving for most of our Ys from the demographic, and that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about here. Since the Cocoa Y's been in existence, this is the amount of partnerships, and these are the partnerships that we have. And so we have Boys and Girls Club, we have Special Olympics, we have the police department. You look up here, we have had all these folks be a part of the Y and use the Y in some way, shape, or form over the last, since 2004 when we've opened it. And this is a pretty strong statement as we look at what this Y means to this community. Here's some faces. I think it's always important to see things that are happening in the pool, things that are happening in social aspect, how we save lives and take care of people, and then how we also take care of the youth and develop them as individuals and better citizens. The Cocoa Y, here's a member that's lost a tremendous amount of weight. I won't go into reading that, but to lose 100 pounds and to do it successfully, this gentleman is a hero in my point, and we have hundreds of these kind of people in the Y giving testimonials to what we do. Some more pictures. We have a great child care program, a group of people here doing exercise and staying healthy. Here we have how to prevent child abuse, and I'm making a pledge. Here we have a coach working with youth. Just kind of give you some examples. Here's another testimony which, when you look at stage 4 cancer, and you look at what cancer can do to people, and what we can do in the Y, and this is where I say we save lives and we promote health. This person wanted to learn how to take swim lessons, and we got this person in swim lessons to learn how to swim at the age of 70. And so, to me, that's why I work for the Y, and I've been doing it a long time. Those stories are very, very impactful. 2 other members are also losing 100 pounds, just like that other gentleman I also talked about. You start talking about young men playing basketball, a lot of things can happen on a basketball court when you're competing, a lot of learning. We have fun runs, and we have a lot of fun here with our volunteers and our staff and our members working out. Cocoa YMCA is just not a gym. It's not a place for this testimonial here. She's got 5 children. They live at the Y, not literally, but they're there quite a bit. And I love the Cocoa Y, nothing but a pure blessing to my family is another testimony. Why the Y? I think it's important, as you all know, that you helped start this Y back in 2004. Across the country, issues such as unemployment, chronic disease, educational disparities, and you can read down through that of what's going on in our community. The Y is a safe place for people to be, whether you can afford it or not. And so we give tremendous scholarships to people that can't afford the Y, and our job is the Y is for all. How do we make sure that continues? The power of us, I think, is extremely important, and it's amazing what's possible when we work together. So right now, we're working with the college on a long-term agreement with the college. They have pledged $300,000 to start the renovation process, and we are going to be going back to them and working with a long-term contract with them, and also getting them to look at how they can do more for the renovation efforts. And we're also going to talk to several community members. And as we start this, we have a $1.6 to $2.4 million issue. And it's how do we fix up the building and take care of the building. And we are on our way in that process. And so, what I'd like to do today is be able to ask the city of Cocoa for a one-time gift of $350,000, or however you guys want to do that, to help basically keep the doors from closing. Because we do know that 1.6 to 2.4 million is a lot of dollars, and we really want to keep this wide open, and we want to fundraise to be able to do that. And your gift today would help set the stage for other folks coming in and giving their pledges and giving their dollars to a great cause. And so, wanted to just thank you all for your time. Thank you for considering us and having us here, and we appreciate the invite. Any questions?
We just appreciate you coming out. And this is just pretty much the nuts and bolts to But the problem that we're seeing at our Y, not just our Y, we got several amenities within our city that we should be using to sell our city with, and for some reason, a lot of them are failing, and for some reason, we haven't been sitting at the table with them to just find out what's happening with them. So that's why I invited them today to come out today, just to talk to the council, and hoping that we can do something to help the YMCA, because it has been in our community for a while, and it's a benefit to our community. So that being said, any other comments?
Well, I wanted to make, just to say that, of course, the YMCA is in District 4 in my district, and I have been involved with YMCA's all my adult life and most of my childhood, and understand what an important asset it is to our community. So I sat down and met with Stockton Witten, who's the facilitator over there at Eastern Florida State College, and the provost, and became aware of, they were really concerned about some of the ongoing maintenance things and the electric bill for the pool in particular. I know you've invested a lot in the Titusville Y. How come we're not getting the same kind of, it's the Central Florida Y that makes those decisions, right?
Yeah, so when you look at the Titusville Y and the Cocoa Y, back in the beginning, we raised $1 million to start the Y, and we also put an additional $500,000 of YMCA Central money to start the Y. And so over the years, we've been changing out equipment, doing those things. The same thing at the Titusville Y as well. So we look at all 27 of our operations, and we look at how do we help each one of those. But we also look at the community and saying, what's the community going to be able to do? We fundraise the same for the Titusville Y as well. So we are a community-based organization that really believes in that, and we're community-led and community-bred and community-started. And so the strength of the Y is based upon that community. So we look at all those assets all the way across.
And the mission of the Y would include serving the underserved. So in the case of Cocoa, where we have a population, 30% living below the national poverty level, we would be a focus of your attention, right?
Yeah, and all four of those Ys I showed up there, they're also home mission Ys. And so we take dollars, 5 cents out of every membership dollar to the entire association, and it goes into those Ys. And so on an annual basis, funding comes into this community, and the funding that I'm requesting today is going to stay here. It's going to stay in Cocoa. It's not going anywhere else. We believe in that in all our community assets. We're not an organization that takes a dollar and distributes it amongst our entire association. Wherever the money is raised, the money stays in that community.
Okay. I have one last question, just real quick. So, Principal Wilson is on your board. Do you have an interface with the high school? Does the high school use the pool, or?
Does the high school use the pool? Yes.
They do, okay.
In fact, I think behind me, in the audience, there is some Y Storm.
Okay.
Folks that would tell you emphatically, the high school swim team
All right.
is there.
Yeah.
Special Olympics is there, and if it wouldn't be for that Y there, these kids wouldn't have the problem with the program to swim.
Okay.
So, great question.
And then just looking at, I had a long conversation with them. There's some HVAC issues, there's roofing issues. I think the pool is losing about, 12,000 gallons a day or something like that, or?
It's a large amount.
Yeah, and so there's some issues there. And the pool's been resurfaced, but there's some, I think there's 86, 84 inlets, yeah. So there's.
And originally how this Y got started, just to brief on that a little bit, is the college was going to, they had an activity center, and they were actually going to close the pool. And in 2002, 2003, we were able to raise the dollars and be able to do the renovations and keep that Y, and actually start that Y. And so there is a need there for all of that, and the pool is a big 50-meter pool.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of gallons of water it holds, and we do need to do some major issues to that pool moving forward.
And I know way back in, I'm gonna get to you, Stephanie.
Oh, no rush.
But way back, I know way back in probably 2006, 07, and Nancy probably can attest to this, there were some CDBG funds that went toward the swim lessons for some of the kids, a lot of the kids in Cocoa that otherwise didn't know how to swim, so, Deputy Mayor Warner.
Well, it's also used every summer by our police department in their Cops and Kids summer program. That's the first thing they do, is take all the children that's going through the summer camp over to the Y and make sure they can all swim. Make sure the ones who learned the year before haven't forgotten those skills. So they spend that first week of summer camp at the Y. And as far as I remember, we have never paid for that, and we greatly appreciate it because we do that summer camp on a shoestring thanks to Cocoa Community First. What I would like to see us do, because the Y is so vitally important to the citizens of this city, the only facility of its kind, it's important to our high school, it's important to our seniors. I would like that the council give direction to the city management to sit down with the Y and sit down with the college and maybe see if we can't come up with some plan to participate in keeping this facility open. But I think we need our assistant city manager or our city manager to give us some information and see what we can do. And I also think as a city, we need to put some pressure on the college. The entire campus over there looks like it's abandoned. They are not maintaining any of their buildings. I have people say to me, is that campus even open anymore? Parts of the campus look like they've been abandoned, and,
They have plans in
yeah,
place,
well,
but as you know, they've been concentrating on the Melbourne campus
they have
right
been
now.
concentrating on the Melbourne campus, and for years, we have heard, oh, we don't have the money, but they seem to have the money for every campus except Cocoa. So, I realize that their students and their demographic is mostly in the south end of the county now, but if they're not going to maintain that campus, they don't want that campus, maybe we should do something else with it. So I would like the council to direct the city staff to sit down with the Y and the college and see if there isn't some way that we can all work together to keep this Y open.
You making that in the form of a motion?
I'll make it a motion.
Second it?
Okay, we got a motion from Deputy Mayor Warner, second from Councilman Bover. But I want to also add that the Eastern Florida does have some plans for that campus, and I think it's something that's going to benefit our community. I think it's going to be more of a technical school that's going to be in Cocoa, which I think is going to be awesome because with Cocoa High doing what they're doing right now, and what I gather, something similar is going to be happening at Clear Lake Middle School, and then it's going to be happening at Eastern Florida State College. So it's going to be a little bit different of an aspect, but it's going to work out really great and benefit a lot in our community. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But
Yeah, because I would not want to say anything that could be interpreted in a condescending fashion toward Eastern Florida
Oh, it
State
wasn't
College.
condescending, it's just when you go over there and the grass needs mowing and they just haven't, I mean, for years they maintained that campus, in a beautiful fashion, and it's just, this last year, it just seems like it's not getting the attention that it's gotten in past years. So I don't know if they're having the same problems that we're all having in finding staff or what it is, but it just kind of looks like our campus is being ignored when you look at the other campuses. So it would just be nice to see them at least maintain it to the point where people aren't asking if it's abandoned. It doesn't do you any good if people don't want to come onto the campus to the Y because it doesn't look inviting, so.
okay, we got a motion from Deputy Mayor Warner, a second from Councilman Bover. Mr. City Manager, you understand what the motion was, right?
Yep, just to provide you an update, we do have a meeting already scheduled with Eastern Florida State College this upcoming Wednesday. And so we will also then reach out to the Y to follow up on presentation tonight.
If you want us there, we'll be happy to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously.
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
You all. Appreciate it.
Okay. If anybody wants to, yeah, I'll give them a time to clear out and then we'll Move on to delegations.
Where you going?
Had one that was
And I had-
regarded to the Y.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Morris, I didn't, where is he?
Is it right over there? Bill Morris?
No more.
Yeah, I'd miss it. If he still wants to come up, I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
Bill, did you hear that? If you still want to come up and speak in delegations?
Yeah, I'll just do it in delegations, I forgot that, I didn't, I apologize for that.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
wants to speak on that.
Okay, we got up, we'll move on to delegations. We got, Mr. Robert Jackson. This is with reference to your water, or?
Yes.
Okay. You can come up, state your name and address, and,
I'm Robert Jackson. I live at 1229 Bull Lake Circle in Rockwood. And my concern, also my background, I'm a retired computer programmer, data processing manager. My concern is regarding unit fee of $2.99 to be able to make the payment online. I think the fee is excessive. That's why I write a check every month in first mail. I understand that First Billing Services collects those fees. I don't know if they're keeping all of it or part of it is, well, that's an excessive amount. My professional background, when their contract comes up, it should be renegotiated. Maybe keep it with them, but a reasonable fee would be $1, because it's more expensive to process a check, staff your payment windows with people that collect the payment. And if I might, how many people are sending in a check each month because of the fee? Okay, and would you be willing to pay a fee, a reasonable fee of, let's say, $1 each time, as opposed to mailing your check? No?
I refuse to pay the fee.
And the other thing is, in particular, an advantage would be for, if you're doing auto payments, if I authorize the water bill to be taken directly from my bank account, there should be no further fee. The money it takes to set up a software system, the bulk of it is one time. After that, takes very little to maintain an existing system. So the 299 is excessive, that's all I had to say. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
thank you,
All
sir.
right, thank you.
I agree. It's that way on everything, though. All of these bank services are very expensive, even though it's got to be easier for them to do it.
Up next, we have, Alex Greenwood. Come up, please, sir, and state your name and address, and
Alex Greenwood, 640 Boulevard, in Coca-Cola. I have very quick history information that I think needs to be brought up in reference to a letter. There was a question asked about Janice Stewart's qualifications to be on the CRA board. Now, I've got, if I can hand this out, and you all pass it to each other. You've already got this in your paperwork in reference to the opinion of Anthony's, the super attorney, of course, opinion about that. And it was addressed for the question of her having an occupational license. The history part, if you all aren't familiar with it, is in this item. The history part, now I'm gonna age myself, this is back in 1981. Alex, were you even born then?
I was 2.
You were two. Alright, and Brenda, your husband was clearing the land for the condos that my family built. You were raising Angela.
She was 2, yeah, she was 2.
Anthony, were you even shaving then when you were an ice hockey guy? Or? Anyway, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because at that time, I was one of several members where I was approached to see if there was an interest in creating the downtown CRA district, which back then was called the RDA. People that were with me, unfortunately I'm not here anymore, Buddy Baker, which was Florida Today, Reverend Wells, even Mark Tharp. A lot of people don't know that. The intent at that time was to see if there would be a need to take care of the blighted area, which we now call the village. And they wanted to get input of what could help make that survive. And through those efforts, what transpired was we decided that yes, we need that created. It is a blighted area. People were being robbed there. People didn't want to go to the area. And the ideas that were brought up was putting in bridge sidewalks, crosswalks, new lighting and all that to bring to what we have now, the merchants that we have, the events that we have, and it includes hundreds of millions of residential condos. We had no idea at that time it would grow like that. So I'm very proud of the efforts that were created. However, the answer that was given in reference to James Stewart did not include the fact about property owners that invested in that area. Part of the taxes that are paid are this TIF money, tax increment financing, that is retained from the county, and it was allowed to remain in the downtown area. I'd like to see if we could have, ask Anthony Randucci, this is something that could be put up for discussion on the council meeting, or maybe a resolution, because all he had to be able to go back and refer to was the Florida statutes. And Florida statutes are there because there wasn't any clear guidance of how and what's required for someone to be on the board. It was done verbally. And because it was done verbally, I feel that we should fine tune it and see, and I'd like to see it come up for discussion. There's a lot of property owners that own and made investments in the downtown area, and, you know, they're upset with some things that's been taking place. They don't feel that their voice is heard, and some of them are here in the audience today. I'm sorry, but I'd
Thank
like
you,
to
sir.
see
Yeah,
if
you
we
were.
get a response, or if it's something that maybe the council would like to get more information on or further into it. Any questions?
No, sir, I don't have any, but. Did you have?
When is this on the agenda?
Because it's really,
I'd like
it's
to
a
see
legal
what-
question that he already responded to.
The issue is regarding a person's qualification to serve on a community redevelopment agency. Ms. Stewart owned a business in the city of Cocoa for quite a long time. As a business owner, she served on the downtown CRA for a very long time, admirably. She apparently, the information that was provided to me, sold her business, no longer operated a business in the city of Cocoa. However, she does maintain ownership of property within the city of Cocoa. The eligibility requirements for a CRA are statutory based, meaning you have to meet the qualifications in Florida statutes. It's not a question of meeting local qualifications, it's a question of meeting statutory qualifications. And the law says that in order to serve on a CRA, you either have to reside within the area or operation of the CRA, which in this case is the municipal boundaries of the city of Cocoa, or be engaged in business. And the statute goes on to define engaged in business as meaning owning a business, practicing a profession, or performing a service for compensation, or serving as an officer or director of a corporation or other business entity so engaged within the city of Cocoa. In my opinion, based on what little authority there is, owning property, even if you serve as a landlord leasing it out, doesn't constitute being engaged in a business. So that's the question. Just mere ownership, does that mean you're engaged in business if you lease it out? In my opinion, I don't believe that rises to the level of meeting the eligibility requirements. That's my opinion.
So we make them pay a business tax.
Hmm?
but we make property owners pay business tax,
Yeah.
kind of.
You know, you're free to seek another opinion regarding that, or request an Attorney General's opinion, I would suppose, if that's something that the council would like to do.
I would just ask the question, Mr. Christopher owns a lot of property here, and he mentioned, well, wait a minute, we're required to pay a business tax receipt to have the property that we have in the area. I'm thinking it's something that needs to be looked into, because anytime we don't have any clear guidance, we always go to the forest statutes that are a lot stricter. It also states here that the city council has to.
Mr. Greenwood, we're gonna have to,
Being able to make a decision vested in the sole appointment authority under Florida law. So the city council has the authority to make it more clear in reference to this issue about property ownership. And I'm hoping that it should be, I'm thinking that because the property taxes
I mean,
that they're paying, that would satisfy the.
Alex, I did cite, they weren't CRA eligibility cases, but I did cite a couple of cases in my opinion letter regarding owning an apartment house, whether or not that was engaged in business. And in those cases, different context, the court said that owning an apartment house was not engaged in a business. Can't be said to indicate that you're operating an apartment house constitutes a business, because these things are attributable to ownership of property, not
Right.
engaged in a business.
Right.
So I think it's likely that a court, if they were to address this issue, Alex, with all due respect, would find that it's not engaged in business, just mere ownership of property. But again, you're free to seek another opinion on that. That's just,
Or if the council, are they able to list some of the qualifications that would be required to this specific situation?
in this
for our
particular,
city?
not with respect to the CRA, where the council is bound by the requirements that is set forth in the statutes.
Even though the property taxes the owners pay.
We have to
that
follow the
portion
statutes
goes
on
to
this.
the CRA area.
On this type of appointment, the council has to follow the eligibility requirements in the statute.
thank you, sir.
I just hope that it's brought up for discussion and we will consider, because you finally have the say, the final authority to vote on this through resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Weiss, Marlene Weiss? Oh,
Speak up.
Is that microphone working? Does that have a button too? or-
I don't know. No, it's not on. You left.
Stop sign that was put in at the, two-lane road access.
Yeah.
It's like we have our own little cocoa village down there. People stop, they wave, it's safe for people to walk. That, it
It's
made a
been
huge
good.
difference. It made a huge difference. So it's a matter of not expense, but of making city more livable.
You get your own little community, my son says.
Ah, awesome.
He lives on 2 lanes.
It's nice to meet you, Don. Yes, yes.
They work so much better than speed humps too. They really do.
They really do. It
Mhm.
really is like a little slice of Cocoa Village. It's just like a little meeting area and, you know, it's wonderful. Okay, so it's fun now?
Mm.
I can try to project.
Okay.
That's better. Is that good? Yes. Okay, good.
yeah.
So Cocoa is my community. This is my community. It's where I live, it's where I work. I can bike to my office, I can bike to the store. I have friends in other places, but this is my community, the people that I live with. This is it. And, the last couple of years, it's been harder and harder for me to live in this community because the first, real hit that I took was when Clear Lake shut the gates, when they shut the gates to the park. So I was, thank you. So I used to jog around.
It's not working either.
Not working either.
Okay, I think it was, I think it came through.
Just
that
go ahead.
Here. Marlene.
Okay, so this was a place that I would go, I would jog, I would take the kids, neighborhood kids around the park. It was an area where you would see people walking the dogs. It was a community area. You would see people working at the college, walking around the area. It was by Clear Lake, yes. So when the gates were open, this was like a thriving area. Now it is overrun, it looks vacant, and there's nothing I hate more than to see green spaces behind fences. And there's a lot of that in Cocoa, and it's disturbing because that's limiting access, and it's not sending the right message. And it's really degrading the livability and the look of the city. So I came and I expressed my grievance that McFarland also is now not accessible, and that was the area that I would go paddleboarding and canoeing, and that was a small park access, the only small park access that we have. We do have an area, though, that the Dixon area, it's a beautiful area. We've got a few little mangroves that are trying to survive amidst all the concrete that's been stacked up there. But it's a beautiful area, and if it was just a little more inviting, just for even foot traffic, just so you didn't feel, just if the trash was just picked up. And I'm more than happy to volunteer. I've been on the Sustainability Advisory Committee, and I really wish that it was called the Sustainability Action Committee, because the Advisory Committee has been a very challenging 2 years into it, and I'm struggling to see any actions. Just the actions that I can make on my own are the actions that I've seen. I haven't seen help from the city, and I see more and more degradation. I see developers coming in, and the developers are not developing for the city of Cocoa. They're developing for the people with money who are going to come into the city of Cocoa. That's fine, but the city and the residents of Cocoa also have to have a voice in this development. It can't be just, well, these are the people with the money, make do. There's a lot of green spaces in Cocoa that could be developed. There's one behind my house. It's beautiful area, but we just need a little bit of input rather than clear cut everything. Now, when you clear cut everything, which what happened outside my backyard, just these grasses start growing up, and the biodiversity of the area is lost. That's not how you manage green spaces. You need a little bit more intelligence, and we don't need fences to manage green spaces. So I just want to say thank you very much. This is the second time I've been beeped off, but this is less traumatizing than the first time.
What side of Tulane? You live on the?
I'm on the same side as your son.
Okay.
Yeah, on the Mud Lake Park.
If you remember, a few years ago, somebody wanted to put an assisted living facility
Correct.
up there, and they fought it and fought it and fought it, and you wouldn't have that problem today with all that greenage in the back if they would have allowed that home.
I love the greenage. The greenage actually could be a selling area.
But no, I'm
It
just
could be a
saying, it would
selling
have
area.
developed the area to make it more presentable, but I don't think it would have brought that much more traffic personally.
Well,
How many delivery trucks of groceries do you get a week? One?
the green areas, we want to keep the green
Yeah.
areas. We want to keep them and use them. Yeah. And not develop everything, but develop and leave some of the green of what we have.
Thank you,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, appreciate it. And everybody, please remember your light switch. Okay, Mr. Morris. And I apologize for missing you with the reference to the Y. Oh,
I don't know whether to use this microphone or, can anybody hear me in the back?
No, it's
Just
not
talk
working.
up, or come up here and use.
Right on. My name is Bill Morris. I live at 1908 Manor Drive, Cocoa, and I'm here to talk about the why. I'm happy to learn that Cocoa is going to be pitching in to the tune of $300,000, and maybe, oh, okay. And maybe the school, the college, another $300,000, if that's what I heard. That will go to partially defraying what this gentleman that talked about said of $2.4 million for the roof and other failing facilities there. So anyway, I wrote this before the meeting, and I've revised it a little bit in view of what's transpired. But I wrote it, and I'm going to read it, but I mean when I wrote. I'm 75 years old. I use the exercise machines in the Olympic-sized pool at the Y daily. Closing the Y would be a tremendous hit to my health and well-being, and I speak for the 6,400 members of the Y as well. We achieve weight control, stress reduction, lower blood pressure, diabetes avoidance, heart disease avoidance, and improved mental health, and that goes for me as well as the other people. I really mean that. If you think I could be able to jog if the Y were closed under direct sun in the neighborhood when it's 90 degrees and humid, you're wrong. If I did that, I'd be headed for the emergency room or the morgue. I won't go over what the Cocoa Y offers and programs. That's been addressed before. But filling the pool would be not just regrettable, it would be a tragic, if the Y were closed and the pool were filled. As we speak, there is a yellow caution tape blocking the second floor hallway where roof leakage drips through an overhead fluorescent light with water buckets below and a fan attempts to dry a water-soaked carpet. This is nothing new. It's happened before. The Cocoa Y no longer has a manager or a full-time maintenance person. The showers have leaked water from about 10,000 gallons to the tune of 10,000 gallons per week. I tried to notify the college. They didn't respond, and finally got it fixed about 4 weeks later. They also, one more thing, and then I'm done. The water leakage has produced buckling of the floorboards in an upstairs room that hosts yoga, ballet, group workouts, and karate lessons, so the boards that had to be removed or have not been replaced. I implore the city of Cocoa to do what it can to protect and save our valuable community asset. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I got a letter here that I told Donna Kettner I would read during delegation. This is to the mayor, the council, Deputy Mayor Warner, Councilman Bovair, Councilman Alex Goins, the Councilwoman Cos, City Manager, Assistant City Manager, says, greeting all. My name is Donna Kettner. I own property in the city of Cocoa, 103 Derby Street and 111 Harrison Street in Cocoa Village. I would have attended this meeting personally, however, I'm out of town on business. I'm sure many of you are sad about my absence. But on a more serious note, I want to express the amount of stress and deep frustration and exhaustion which has been inflicted upon me due to flooding. I did come before you with the concern that this would happen if you allowed him, said person, I'm not going to mention his name, to build higher than my property. And I was assured everything would be approved by code and my business would not be affected. In all the years I've operated my business here in the village, over 35 years, this is the first year I have ever had flooding. Thanks to the city approving the beer garden. After flooding, it takes 3 people 2 days to clean up the mess that occurs after a flood in my store. And while the cleanup goes on, I have to lock the front door and my business has to be closed while this cleanup goes on. So that is a loss of income. Paying employees to slop up the store and get things up and running again in a clean environment. Payroll expenses without being open for profitable business get expensive. Also expense for a water restoration company to bring drying fans in an effort to keep mold from growing. This cannot go on. There has to be a solution to this mess. The rainy season will be here for the summer months. I cannot imagine what would happen if a hurricane hit us. And she just put waiting on your reply. Kind regards, Donna Kettner. So,
Can we at least have Matt update us? I know there are things going on there in regard to that property, and our hearts go out to Donna and the stress of living under that in the rainy season.
Certainly. There's actually a couple of businesses in the central business district that are being impacted in the same way in which she describes. And the problem is actually emanating from other adjacent private property, and any solution that would be developed or constructed would occur on private property. And so typically in these matters, the city doesn't necessarily play a role in the resolution. In this particular case, due to the impacts to the number of businesses, we have worked in more of a facilitation manner to bring the parties together to come up with a solution to the problem. Some interim changes have been made as recent as this week, and so they are observing what impacts may come with the rains we've been experiencing. So if those changes do make a difference, they may be able to implement long-term solutions to address those concerns. So we'll continue to monitor the situation. We're certainly monitoring the intensity of the rainfall because that plays a pretty significant role. A lot of the stormwater issues that are being had have occurred due to roof drainage. Of course, in the central business district, there's a lot of zero setback properties, and so there really isn't a natural flow for the water, and it must be artificially directed. And so we're working with those property owners to develop a solution.
thank you, sir. Okay, we're gonna move on to our consent agenda. What's the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second?
We got a motion from Councilman Bover, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. And then while I'm here at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and just make an announcement that, once again, that the following council members, city manager will be attending the Florida League of Cities annual conference in Orlando on the following dates. Mayor Williams, August 14th through 17th, 2019. Deputy Mayor Warner, August 15th through 17th. Councilmember Goins, Councilwoman Cost, and City Manager Takanich. Okay, well, 15th through the 17th, and City Manager Takanich would be the 14th through the 17th. If I've seen a little out of it today, it's because I've been over in Orlando pretty much most of the day and drove straight from there to here. I have to drive back there after this meeting, so. With that being said, we're gonna move over to our public hearings. Community Service Director.
Let me read the ordinance in. This is second and
sorry.
final reading of ordinance number 12-2019. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, amending Appendix A, Article 11, Section 22 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Cocoa to allow parking as a special exception use in the Cocoa Village subdistrict of the Cocoa Waterfront Overlay District, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, incorporation into the code, severability, and an effective date. As I indicated, this is second and final reading, also a public hearing item. The only change that was made to the ordinance between first and second reading was just a very, very technical change. If you recall, during first reading, there was an exhibit that identified the subject parcels that were going to be grandfathered in. Rather than do a separate exhibit to the ordinance, some technical text changes were made to incorporate that information into the body of the code change. So when, if this ordinance passes, the codified version will have that information in the city code. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Nancy, you have anything or add to that, or?
No.
Okay. Well, this is a public hearing, so I'm gonna close it at this time to the council and open up to the public for any public comments. Anyone have any? Seeing none, I'm gonna close it to the public, reopen it to the council. What is the wishes of the
I
council?
just wanted to say, just repeat what I said last time, that this is such a prime piece of property. I hope we use it for something other than parking in the near future. I hope that we'll resolve our parking problem so that it can be developed in something else. And with that, I'll say a motion to approve.
Second.
We get a motion from Councilwoman Cos, second from Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. We can move on to item number 2. Consideration of a bonding agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. Dodie Seelig, our Planning and Zoning Manager, is going to have a presentation. This is consideration of a binding development agreement between the City of Cocoa, Florida and Integra Land Company to allow the developer to construct up to 249 apartments and 5 apartment buildings not to exceed a 57-foot in height, with 5 parking garage buildings, a community clubhouse, and certain public amenities on 2 parcels of land totaling 150.35 acres and located on the south side of State Road 524 between Westminster Drive and London Boulevard.
So the parcels, developed portion of the parcels will be roughly 13 acres. She said it's on the frontage of, on the south side of 524. The main project entrance will be across from Lance Boulevard. And the remainder of the property is roughly 137 acres, which is wetland area, commonly known as mud lake. The subject parcels are here outlined in red. 524 is the road across through here. This is the mud lake area. The developed area will be right along the 524 boundary. There are 3 different zoning districts on the property and 3 different future land uses. And the existing use of the property is all vacant land up there. A little background, the Board of Adjustment approved a height variance in November 9th, 2014. It would allowed a increase in the height from 35 feet to 45 feet. And the Planning and Zoning Board approved a site plan with some conditions on April 8th of 2015 that allowed a development project that was known as the Preserve at Cocoa to construct 8 apartment buildings totaling 248 market rate apartment units. Both of those approvals have since expired without development taking place. This is the concept plan for the project. I'm just going out a few acres. 524 runs right along here. Here's Lance Boulevard. This is the entrance to the project. The access area runs, directly right next to the property line. This is a secondary emergency access point to the project. There are apartment buildings and then garage buildings, and I'll show you the more detailed version of this in a moment. So here's a blow up of that area, 4 apartment buildings, 4 of these are garage buildings, this yellow colored shaded building, and then retention areas. The rest of this is about this point to the south is all wetland. And this is the other half of the project. This is the clubhouse, pool area, amenities, those additional apartment buildings, garage, dog park area. There's a 55-foot wide drainage easement that cuts through the property right here. This little black line represents a footbridge, so there will be pedestrian cross access. And then this entrance here is what's called the trailhead access point off of 524, providing about 10 parking spaces, a cul-de-sac, turnaround, and a trailhead. There's an elevation to the building, typical elevation, I should say, for one of the apartment buildings. At the bottom, you can see view from the road. community clubhouse with, an exercise room, a business center, party room, pool, and 2 level 3, which is a 30-minute timeframe, electric car charging stations. Developer would be using, energy efficient lighting systems, insulation, Energy Star rated windows, and fixtures, HVAC. The project will also include, enhanced landscaping along 524, including a 40-foot tree planting interval. The code requires 50 feet, so this would provide more trees. And a mixed species hedge, vegetation. The developer will also be providing, this, trailhead area, as we're referring to it, with the 10 parking spaces with the cul-de-sac to allow the fire trucks, to turn around, and, 4-foot wide walking trail, for just a distance of 10 feet, basically starting the trail area, with an informational kiosk. There will also be, overhead lighting for that public parking area, and a conduit, to allow the city to install a electrical car charging station in the future, if desired. And the developer will also be deeding approximately 137 acres of wetland, primarily to the south of their project, to the city. This would also include the Mud Lake area, and it will also include that trailhead area. So here's a, blow-up of the actual trailhead area. So the drainage easement is over here. This is that boardwalk, providing connection with the sidewalk comes through. The trailhead would actually be right here, with the kiosk, and parking, and the cul-de-sac and detention. So essentially from the end of the drainage easement up to the road and down this portion, would all become conveyed to the city, as well as the bulk of the wetlands. These 2 parcels in red are the subject site. These 2 in green and then these down below in green are all owned by the city. The city's fire station was just recently constructed, is right up here at the very top. All of this is wetlands. Essentially, the drainage flow runs from north to south or northwest to southeast, through these areas. This green in the southern is the Cocoa Conservation Area, which is only accessed at this time through the Cocoa Bay. The very rear of their housing development is the actual entrance area. There is a connection to Cox Road, but it's not developed at this time. This right here is where that trailhead location is, and it would provide us with an additional, and more accessible access, once developed, to the Cocoa Conservation Area. So the developed part of the project is lies right in here to roughly about here. So the portion that would then become deeded to the city would be everything from about this point south. So it's a large piece of land, and it's central to, the hydrology of the area. Part of the development agreement, in addition, are variances and waivers. So, particularly, Appendix A, Article 11, Section 5E, which is a maximum building height increase from 35 feet to 57 feet for the apartment buildings. The community buildings and parking garages will still be, under the 35 feet limit, height limit imposed by the zoning code. And then Appendix A, Article 11, Section 5K, which is maximum building width, which, is currently 200 feet, and will be increased to 233 feet for the apartment buildings. And finally, Appendix A, Article 12, Section 5F, which is minimum living area requirement for one-bedroom apartment units. The code requires 800 square feet, and the development agreement would, reduce that to 630 square feet, for a maximum of 79 one-bedroom apartments. In terms of consistency with the comprehensive plan, we have objective 3.1.1, which is energy efficient, construction and design. In addition, goal 3.7, which addresses, promotion of creation of housing opportunities. And goals 11.1, objective 11.1.2, and policy 11.1.2.2, all of which address school concurrency and require a school capacity availability determination letter. Staff will use a preliminary concurrency review the developer shall provide the city with a revised concept plan to depict the cul-de-sac, for the trailhead parking area. Developers here this evening, we can have this, presentation shares for the floor.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And once again, I have to applaud the Planning and Zoning Board because they probably spent about 45 minutes to an hour addressing a lot of the concerns that we would probably have. And I wish you all had a copy of the minutes from that meeting. I know they're probably not available yet, but this is a really good project. I like it. And I know there's some concerns about the 524 as far as the traffic. But I can tell you now that the Space Coast TPO is looking to move up the date of the widening of 524, partially because of the high-speed rail, as well as the improvements to Clear Lake Road from 520 on down as well. So they're looking to move that project up as well because of the high-speed rail as well, and all the development that's coming in that area. So you'll be seeing something shortly coming up with that, with reference to that. So with that being said, you can go ahead, sir.
My name's David McDaniel. I'm 1525 International Parkway in Lake Mary, Florida. I appreciate you all letting us present our project to you guys and consider the development agreement. We're excited to present it to you and hopefully it meets your approval. I think Dodie did a great job with the presentation of our project. I don't have too much to add to what she said except answer some questions. As far as me as a developer, I've been building multifamily housing for 33 years now, mostly in the Florida markets from Jacksonville to Tampa. And, this is just another location that we have found to be very, very attractive with the growth of the employment in the Space Coast area, and you guys are being, sort of right in the center of all that, which is fortunate for you and hopefully fortunate for me. So I look forward to being hopefully part of the community, but, I'll answer any questions.
Yeah, and I know we have our Sustainability Advisory Committee, and that this question was brought up as well about the solar panels. And so if you can just go ahead and kind of address that, I mean.
Yeah, it came up at the last meeting.
The planning and zoning, yeah.
The planning and zoning meeting. And we will consider it. We do have it in the VA as an option for us to use it. One of our thoughts is to use solar heating or solar energy for some of our site lighting or possibly on our clubhouse. I probably can't do it on the whole project just from a cost standpoint, but I think we're going to make an effort to try to get something that can be utilizing solar energy. And plus, I want to make sure that the panels, a lot of people object to where the panels are and what they look like, so we got to make sure it kind of fits in and either put it on the backside or somewhere where it's not really obtrusive. Thank you.
Any other
Well,
comments
and
before
just
the
from the
public?
sustainability perspective, I mean, also the fact that we are increasing our preserved area and, our canopy, that's going to be a benefit to the community as well.
That's my area too, so.
This
Watch
is
out,
a-
he'll be moving. I said, you gotta watch out, Don will be moving over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Project managed.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so at this time, we're gonna close it to the council and open it up to the public for any public comments, if you have any. Yes, sir. I'm still gonna need for you to fill a card out, if you don't mind, before you leave. Thank you, sir. State your name, address.
So I
and-
pretend the microphone works just fine, right?
Yeah.
Larry Cost, 2115 North Indian River Drive, Cocoa, Florida. I'm on the P&Z board, and this information has come before me. In previous P&Z board meetings, I've seen development companies come and go through this process. But in that process, I've listened to people who live nearby. And a lot of them have concerns about their area will be flooded because the city has a rule that says you need to manage your own stormwater. But they bring in 3 feet of fill. Now their property is higher than everybody else's. Even though they may have a retention pond in the middle of their development, water seeks the lowest elevation. So if your neighbor has a lower elevation than you, they're going to get flooded. And I know that the downtown city, Cocoa Village, that's private property, but the city approved somebody developing without a storm water management plan. here to remind everybody that the big picture, the more pavement we put up, the more buildings we put up, the more we're gonna have a flooding issue. So I asked the city, either have an engineer that can look at the hydrology of the whole city, and as each development could approve, that development is fit into the big picture of the calculation of how much water this area can handle during a rainstorm. So, I'm okay with development, I just want it to be smart, and people not get flooded because somebody else raised their property higher.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
but you're not saying anything negative about this project?
No, but it is more pavement, more
Okay.
impervious surface, and the gentleman that came to the meeting lives on the north side of 524. And he said every year he sees water getting closer and closer to his front door. And his concern that he raised was, if this development goes through, and that ditch that runs to Mud Lake is now, that development is going to be adding water to that ditch, which primarily is what the northern side of 524, that's where the water goes. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we're gonna close this to the public at this time, reopen it to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilman Bover,
Second.
second from Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on to item number 3. City Council consideration of public comment and allocation of 2019 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant. Chief.
Yes, Mayor and Council. This year, again, we're asking to use the JAG grant for, to purchase 5 more Panasonic Tough Books for our patrol division. Over the last few years, we've been working to go to one computer, that being the Panasonic Tough Books, so that all our officers and all our vehicles would be equipped with the same equipment.
Thank you, sir.
Second?
That's under,
Public hearing.
it's on the
Oh.
public hearing, so this time I'm gonna close it to the council and open up to the public for any public comments. Seeing none, I'll close it at this time to the public and reopen it to the council. What's the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion
Second.
from Councilman Goin, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Okay, we can move on to council business. Consider the donation, application request for Brevard Schools Foundation, Inc. for the Cocoa High School Chorus. Administrative Services.
Yes, sir. We received a donation in the amount of $2,000 from the Brevard Schools Foundation. And this is a request towards the Cocoa Chorus trip to New York City. The city has budgeted a line item specifically for Cocoa schools, so this is in line with the budget, so just wanted to let you know that. And
Dr. Martinez is in the audience. Could we ask her to come up just briefly?
Yes, ma'am.
Hardly walking today, huh?
If you could just state your name and,
Yeah, and so, well, I'm really excited you're here. I'm really excited that we had a great event this Saturday. As you heard, we raised $7,000, very close to that 30,000 mark, which was the personal goal for our particular group, for the whole village that came together to make sure that the chorus is in Carnegie Hall. It overwhelmed all my expectations. It was so much better. The performance is so much better than I even dreamed. And, you know, as I said, I just want to point out the thing about chorus and what's so great about it, what you've done, inspiring the students, cultivating their talents, but as individuals, helping them find each of their own voices. And then I think probably something that people really don't understand about chorus, what's kind of unique about it, what's so great about it, is that they have to learn how to listen to each other, which is such a great life skill, you know, whatever each one of them ends up doing in life. And, you know, as I said, I think they're all destined for greatness, and thank you so much. So, a motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cost,
Second.
second from Deputy Mayor Warner. Any discussions? No, sir. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? It passes unanimously.
And there's also an announcement, though.
Yes, sir.
I totally agree. It was very inspiring listening to the demonstration that you all put on for the council that day, and it's a tremendous opportunity for these kids to go to Carnegie Hall, and it's probably one of the best opportunities I've seen come through the council chambers. I mean, I can't applaud you enough. So on behalf of my firm, I'd also like to contribute $1,000 through the Brevard School Foundation in support of your Carnegie Hall visit.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Anthony.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for being in Cocoa.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 2 on the council business. Mr. Assistant City Manager, it's gonna be the resolution.
Yep. This item was a walk-on resolution. This came at the request of Representative Tyler Soroy, and it had changed from the initial request, and we have the most updated resolution in the city format. This is resolution number 2019-073, resolution of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Florida, urging the Canaveral Port Authority to consider joining the community-wide effort to help restore the Indian River Lagoon, and providing, whereas the City of Cocoa believes in the importance of being honorable stewards of our natural resources and preserving and restoring these limited resources for the enjoyment of present and future generations, and whereas the City of Cocoa acknowledges the importance of investing into projects that will benefit the water quality of the Indian River Lagoon, and coordinating with Indian River Lagoon stakeholders on partnerships for lagoon improvements that share resources and methods. And whereas in November 2016, the residents of Brevard County, Florida demonstrated not only the importance of, but their undoubted commitment to the Indian River Lagoon when they voted for and passed a county-wide half-cent sales tax levy upon themselves to fund restoration efforts. And whereas the City of Cocoa has invested in many projects directly benefiting the Indian River Lagoon and continues to work together with the Brevard County Save Our Lagoon Citizen Oversight Committee to identify projects that meet eligible criteria for half-cent tax funding, and whereas the City of Cocoa priorities include infrastructure improvements, septic to sewer conversions, reduction of stormwater nutrient loading, point source improvements, muck removal, and restoring oyster beds and living shorelines, and whereas the City of Cocoa firmly believes that the success of our Indian River Lagoon restoration efforts depends on the broad support of all of our community stakeholders. Now, therefore, be resolved by the City Council of the City of Cocoa as follows. The City of Cocoa urges consideration of the Canaveral Port Authority to join the community-wide effort to help restore our Indian River Lagoon.
Thank you, sir. I like it. It says exactly what I think most of us feel. But we just need a motion for this to go forward.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cost, a second one from Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're gonna move on to city business. Finance Director. Item number 1.
Yes, Mayor and council members, this is an update to the utility handbook, and so staff is requesting a resolution amending and updating the utility handbook for changes in existing policy, and to approve the Schedule B miscellaneous utility rates, fees, and charges, and to approve the ability for staff to make administrative changes to the utility handbook that do not alter the approved policies contained therein. So the utility handbook is a comprehensive handbook for citizens, customers, and staff alike. That's a snapshot of all the city's policies, including some of the ordinances. And in order for them to deal with and handle issues that come up pertaining to the utility accounts. So staff went through the handbook. It's been quite a few years since it's been updated, and staff went through comprehensively and revised the utility handbook. And this agenda item is changing some fees that were a result of the utility handbook workshop. Some of the changes are noted in the cover memo on the agenda, and also the changes in the fees were an attachment to the agenda item, so council could see the changes in any rates that, fees that staff was proposing. So staff is requesting approval of this resolution.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are the wishes of the council.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion from Councilman Bover,
Second.
second from Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, item number 2.
Once again, this is related to utilities. This is a routine agenda item relating to changes in the utility rates. So staff is requesting action pursuant to resolution number 2016-87, establishing water, sewer, and reclaimed water charges and usage rates, except Stantec's fiscal year 2019-20 utility rate study, validating the implementation of an automatic 5% increase to the water, fire lines, hydrant, wastewater, and reclaimed water fixed monthly charges and usage rates effective October 1st, 2019, and provide for the update of Utility Handbook Schedule A, Utilities, Rates, Fees, and Charges. So the city contracts with Stantec, and they review annually what the rates, fees, and charges are for the items noted, and they determine if the revenue is sufficient or there needs to be an increase, and based on their most recent update, they're requesting a 5% increase. So staff is requesting approval of this resolution for the 5% increase to the rates as noted.
Those are the wishes of the council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Utilities Director Jack Walsh would like to provide just a little summary of the Utilities Advisory Board.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Just last week, Utility Advisory Board had met and had a presentation by Stantec, representatives from Stantec. Mike Burton was there, as well as Peter, his assistant. And the board had recommended unanimously to recommend approval for the 5%, so I wanted to share that with council prior to taking any action.
Thank you, sir.
And
We got a motion from Councilman Bover
a second. And
and a second from Councilwoman Cost.
I just want to make a comment that, we also discussed this too. There are a lot of 5% increases. We've got a lot of increases coming up. I know I've had several bills just increase, and I don't know, in years to come, sliding scales or income-based, and we have a large community of fixed-income folks. But it's important that we make these investments in our water infrastructure in particular. So anyway, that is my comment.
We got a motion
to
from
say we
Councilman
are
Bover,
aware.
second from Councilwoman Cost. And with that being said also as well, I understand what you're saying, but I have another concern with reference to that as well, is that, that there's a lot of increases going around with a lot of different things, and it's gonna hit some people hard, and it's gonna hurt some people that are that are on fixed incomes. But at the same time, from a city standpoint, we wanna know, we wanna see where the money's going, and we've talked about this in our budget meeting. I brought this up, and I said, people have some issues, they have some concerns, and then like anyone else, I like to know where my dollars are going. And I mean, it's just, when you don't see improvements, when you don't see things that are happening, and that's why we need to be more transparent with letting the public know what dollars are being spent for. And we got our FYI, let's put it out there, let's let them see, because some things they won't be able to see, but we can actually explain it to them. But there's some stuff that they can see that they need to know about. And I say that we look at some of our flooding issues that we had back in 2004, 2006. Back then, there's been a lot of improvements, but to look at what's happening today, you know, you shake your head and go, wow, what improvements? But there has been some improvements, and but it's just information that we need to get out there, and we need to let the public see what's happening, where their money is going, where their dollars are going, are being spent. So with that being said, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to multi-year contracts. Chief.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is consider approval of a multi-year contract between the School Board of Brevard County and the City of Cocoa for 3 school resource officers for the 2019-2020 school year, July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. Also approval for authorizing the city manager and city attorney to finalize and execute the contract with the school board.
Thank you, sir. What's the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Deputy Mayor Warner, a second from Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we're gonna do our advisory boards and, staff. Mr. Wheatgrass.
Yes, just a brief update on the paving. Brevard Avenue has been milled. The hope is to get some asphalt down tonight, weather permitting. Next week, Delanoy will be the target, weather permitting, of course. So hopefully 2 weeks we'll be done with the paving downtown. Also, another project Public Works is working on is the planting of the medians. We've acquired 8,000 plants. 2,000 of them have been planted so far, and the weather's not helping us. But they won't be drying up for lack of water. But we've got about 25% of the plants in so far. They're being put in by our crews on overtime, so they work a full day mowing and pulling weeds, and then they hit another couple hours planting plants. So I'm proud of them for the effort they put out. And the mulch has been put down by contractors, so that's looking good too. So the project's coming together, and we hope to have it done by the end of the year.
Just one thing, there were some concerns about, some of the pavers that were removed, and, there was just nothing there. And there was nothing down there, nothing there warning people that these pavers weren't there. And there was quite a few places down there that was like that. Saw that this weekend. We were down there, so I was wondering what was going on there.
There'll be temporary repairs, asphalt, the pavers will be replaced in time, but the striping will be done.
Yeah, they were just worried about the hazard. I mean, just, you know, the fact that they weren't there, and, you know, and
right. Well,
someone not paying attention, you know.
There'll be something there. It was a temporary
Yeah,
issue.
okay. Thank you, sir. Finance Director. Rebecca.
Yes, just want to let council know that with all the rain, it's been challenging to get out and read the meters. Sometimes it makes it a little bit harder to read the meters, so we will be having to estimate some bills in the upcoming cycle. And then also in response to the concern about the credit card fee charge, that is a standard charge that a lot of credit card companies are charging now. Started about probably 8 years ago that they started charging that fee, and that fee is comparable to other fees that other companies charge for credit card processing. And so if a customer elects to have an automatic credit, the money taken out of their bank account, there is no fee for that. These fees are just for credit card processing. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief?
No report, sir.
Fire Chief?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
No report, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, I have a report tonight.
Okay.
So I think the city manager had forwarded council an email that was composed by me about a week or so ago. So there was what we're calling an excursion from one of the standards at the plant during the water production. It has to do with the alkalinity of the water. That information is posted on the website. It's under the utility section, so you have to kind of look for it. But the actual notice is being created and is being stuffed into the bills that will be cycling out over about the next 30 days. We got the final proof. There was actually an error on it, so it went back within the next week or so, probably in the next, whatever the next billing cycle is, probably Monday or, coming in this next cycle. Those will start going out to our customers. So you might see some inquiries. Please direct them to the Utilities Department, either to myself or to Don Downs, the PR Conservation Officer. But I want to assure anybody who's listening, our water was always safe to drink. I did go into some explanation in the email. If council has any questions, please see me after this meeting. I'll hang around to answer any of your specific questions. But essentially, there was a standard that was met with basically how alkaline our water was. However, we have other ways that we test the water, and we can prove that the water was extremely safe, was meeting all standards, in terms of its safety, although that particular standard wasn't met. And so we've made some corrections at the plant. We'll be actually even looking into getting some additional equipment at the plant, because it also had to do with how we feed and not having maybe additional redundancy that we'd like to have in all things that we do. But for anybody who's listening, the water was safe. There is some strong language in there because it is dictated by the Environmental Protection Agency. Because this item, alkalinity, has to do with corrosion. Corrosion also has to do with lead and copper. Lead and copper has a lot of standard language about what happens when you're exposed to lead and copper. That will be in that notice that goes out to the public and is posted on the website currently. So I'm here to answer your questions on that if you have anything, or any time after. The second item I'd just like to comment on, Mayor, is your comment about the dollars being spent. I want to make sure clear to anybody who's listening that the rates and fees that are collected via your utility charges are spent on utility, and that all of the information related to our capital projects, which is the bulk of what we've been doing with these rate increases, are available on the website, on the capital projects. To date, we've spent somewhere over $110 million on new capital projects and reinvestment in our infrastructure. The projects are identified. The schedules are shown online. The progress on the schedule is shown online, and the dollars to spent on every project are shown online. And so we are attempting to be transparent as we can. And I want to make sure if folks don't know that they can go to the website and see all that dollars. And if it wasn't for those rate increases that were approved by this council and previous, we would not have been able to accomplish those infrastructure replacements. That's all I have, sir.
What is the URL? Is it City of Cocoa?
It's the general COCO page, and then if you click on utilities, under that drop-down menu, there'll be about 9 or 12 items, and under that it'll say COCO or Utilities Capital Plan. Click on that, and all that information is there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Yes, sir.
there is a portion of our community that either don't have internet or whatever, or can't afford it, or whatever the case might be. I just want to make sure that we're reaching, everyone. That's why I mentioned the FY. If we can throw some stuff in there and some numbers in there every once in a while, and just let them know, So I just want to make sure we're
Yes, sir.
reaching as many people, individuals as we can. So, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Administrative Services.
No report, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Shealy. Thank you, ma'am. City Attorney. Thank you, sir. Assistant City Manager.
Just a couple of items. Reminder that the COCO CRA board applications are due tomorrow. Second item, you mentioned the transparency, Mr. Mayor, related to capital improvements and investments with those dollars. And I just wanted to let you know that we're in the process of developing a page dedicated to the stormwater, not only the rates, but as also the capital projects that will take place in more of an interactive setting, so the citizens themselves can go in and view their own properties and gain an understanding of why it is they're being assessed, and then where those dollars are going. And so not only that, but to hit the other areas of the community, there'll be signage, there'll be a lot of things going on to really show the community where this work is taking place and what's happening. And then the final item is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., right out at the clock tower in front of City Hall. It's National City Hall Selfie Day. And so the first 50 folks that show up at 9 a.m., there's a T-shirt there for them to wear and take their selfie. John will be over in Orlando, so nobody has to dress up or worry about best dressed. So just come as you are. So that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Councilman Boisvert.
I don't have a report, thank you.
Councilwoman Cost.
Okay, well, you didn't mention the award that you won. You forgot to tell us about that.
I had the honor and privilege of receiving the Paul S. Buckman Award as Municipal Attorney of the Year, which is a very prestigious honor in my profession as a municipal attorney that's given once a year by the Florida Municipal Attorneys Association. So that was a good job.
I mean, you're gonna ask for a
raise?
Thank you.
You're not gonna ask for a raise, are you?
No, I'm not, sir. As you know, it's a pleasure to represent the city of Cocoa. Always has been.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had, a couple months ago, Alex and I went to the emo training, and I had come back and we had asked that the reports be moved to more up front in the agenda so that we'd actually, people would be here and we'd have an opportunity to move items forward. Do you know what the status of that is? 'Cause it's 2 months.
It would have to be a consensus from the council and.
No, the
we
way it
just
was
haven't-
left, in
yeah.
fact, it was in the minutes tonight, if you read them, was that, staff should come back. But this was a better practice as it was presented to Alex and I. And a way to increase, participation and people understanding what your agenda's about. So maybe we can move that forward, because it's been 2 months.
Yes.
But I mean, that is something that we can do as a council, that we can decide as a council.
Well, I would like to make a motion then that we move the reports up in the agenda as is recommended by the emo, so that it falls under the delegations, or
Well-
falls behind
Right behind
delegations.
delegations?
Okay.
Second.
Yeah.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cost, a second from Councilman Goins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
And
Okay.
passes unanimously.
And then
Mayor, on that point, certainly that's the council's prerogative to go ahead and reshuffle the agenda. I did speak to the city manager last week, and he and I spoke, and it was his intention to bring back something in writing as well. So, in the meantime, we certainly can follow the council's direction on moving reports up, but we will follow up with something in writing just to amend your rules.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, great. The other thing, and I think this was at the last meeting, we had a report from the investment broker. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. But, one of the things came up in the presentation were the investments that we have in fossil fuels, albeit they were relatively small investment in fossil fuels. And I should have he asked for our guidance at that time, and being a new legislator, I did not jump on the opportunity to talk about that or make a motion, and I'd like to do that now. And the reason, it is a very small amount that we have invested in fossil fuels, but, one of the things that I understand from understanding apartheid and how that ended in South Africa was that, there was a lot of protests, there was a lot of public sentiment internationally, but the real pressure came when there was a disinvestment in South Africa by the large corporations. That was the turning point. So I would like to make a motion that, we give guidance to our financial investor to move away from fossil fuels.
Well, I just think we need to get a little bit more information on that. I don't wanna, my personal opinion is that, you know, I just wanna get a little bit more information. I understand where you're going.
Mhm.
Just don't wanna just start, you know,
Mhm.
and that we just, at the
Okay.
next, bring it back to the next council meeting with
Okay,
some additional information, and we'll just go from there.
okay. Tell me what additional, because I'll make sure we have that.
On the benefits, the pros and cons, and so
Okay.
forth, so on, yeah.
I would just like to
So
know what
we
the
would invite
process
him.
is,
Yeah.
if we're invested in funds that invest in, are we gonna have to change funds? I mean, just some
Yeah, there's some-
detail,
yeah.
yeah.
And unfortunately, I did not push ahead when he was here, because he was prepared to respond to that, because evidently lots of people are doing that, but
Oh, yeah.
I guess we would invite him back.
Staff can work with our investment advisor and talk to him about the change. And then I believe the change, if council so choose, would come back in the form of the investment policy,
Okay.
so.
Okay, and then, last thing was, that resolution from the Eastern Florida Resiliency Plan people, that it was a resolution for collaboration for all the different municipalities to work together. I know several municipalities have signed on to it. Is that coming up? Because I had tried to push that forward before as well.
Yes, I believe the city
been
manager's
some
been speaking with the staff, at the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, and it'll be coming back at the next meeting.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Deputy Mayor Warner.
Just one thing real quick, Mr. Mayor, the city council, a little over a year ago, went into an agreement with Broadmoor Acres to forgive code enforcement liens on 6 lots that they had purchased, provided they built affordable infill housing on those lots. Yesterday, they broke ground on the first 2 of those 6 homes that they're supposed to build. They've got the financing set for those. The community came out for the groundbreaking. I just wanted to say thank you to 93-year-old Mrs. Sheriff, who came down to assist in the groundbreaking. She's an original property owner, bought her house new, and has lived there her entire life and raised her family there. And also to Mrs. Laura West, who came down. They did an amazing job of talking to Channel 6 News. Both of them had said, no, we don't want to be on camera, we're not going to talk to the media. But the minute the young man walked up and said, can I talk to you ladies, they both melted and said yes and sat down. And afterwards, Mrs. Sheriff pointed out that she did that because the reporter was extremely handsome. So Mrs. Sheriff may be 93, but her vision is wonderful. So thank you, Mrs. Sheriff and Mrs. West, for coming out, and for everybody else who came out and supported the groundbreaking yesterday. And anybody wants to drive by and take a look, 1115 Broadmoor and 1102, I think it is, Broadmoor. I think land clearing starts tomorrow, provided that the weather holds out. And that 1115 Broadmoor, that first home that's going to be built, that lot is where our former police chief, David Crawford, who is now over at Merritt Island Christian School, I believe, raised his family. So it's a lot with some history to it, so it'll be nice to see a brand-new home there. He raised his family in a very tiny 1,000-square-foot house there, and this one's going to be much bigger than that, with 1 bathroom, and I think he had, 3 kids or something in 1 bathroom. So this will be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Will be much more convenient for the new family that gets this home. That's it for me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilman Goodwin.
I just have really just one thing, this for Public Works, Mr. Wheatgrove, about the right-of-way cutting. It was several areas that, well, I guess my first question is, what's the process that you give orders, or does someone go ride around to see what areas in the right-of-ways that we need to cut, that's not in front of houses?
There's a schedule, and they're aware of the areas that need to be cut. There's a schedule between the inmate crews and city staff that goes around and services these areas. As you can imagine, with their workload now, the grass is growing like crazy. They're getting to the areas is just going to take a little time, but generally they know the areas that they need to service, and between them, we have contractors doing some of the larger lot areas that the city owns, and the city owns quite a few vacant lots here and there through the city, a lot in service. So there is a general schedule.
I guess my only concern was we give code violations to residents that have grass or above 12 inches. But some of our areas that we own and areas that we have to maintain are greater than 12. So it's kind of hard for me when a citizen calls me. It's a difficult conversation at times, as you can imagine, because then I have to meet them at their property. And it's tough. It's tough to have that conversation. So I'm like, my mouth, I really don't know what to say to them. So I would like maybe get a list of areas where the inmate crews cut. Because I ride by these areas all the time, and mainly it's Blake area. I'm really concerned about that one because you got Emma Jewel. They take their kids and they walk around the neighborhood a lot of times. And I want those kids, soon they come out of that school, the first thing they see is federal government housing, right? So I want them to see nice cut grass. So you kind of give them a vision of what a community needs to look like. But when they're walking down the sidewalk and the grass that we maintain is 2 foot high, I have a problem with that.
Right. Just for the record, homeowners, property owners are required to maintain the right-of-way in front of their house. Right. Of course, there's a lot of empty lots, and there's some that the city has to do because it just doesn't get done.
Right.
The housing authority, they maintain the right-of-way in front of their properties, and I know they do a pretty good job. And there's some that the city just has to do.
Yeah.
We are on that.
Well, to let you know, I call Rockledge too, and they get tired of me too, because I'm right on Rosa on the Rockledge side. It seems like they take their time as well, cutting their side, and you have over 100 kids that walk, especially right now, because a lot I can't stand to see 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds walking to school with grass that's just as high as their knees, and municipalities need to take their time to cut that grass. And another thing too is I know that when the inmates do cut, they really don't do a good job. That's another problem too. They don't want edges. They just go through and mow through, and then they cut, and they do not pick up the trash. That's another problem too that another citizen called me, is that they are not picking up the trash prior to cutting. So now you have 1 million pieces of paper all over the place. So that's another concern too. I know that may not be our fault. I'm not putting it on us. I'm just, in general, maybe you need to have a conversation with the inmate crews as well, whoever runs that particular group.
Yes, we'll have a discussion, but generally there's, a crew that picks up trash, a crew that mows, crews that edges, and then a crew that blows everything back out of the street.
Okay.
That's generally the way they're supposed to work.
Okay. All right. I think that was it, really. That was all.
Okay, I'm gonna chime in what the Councilman Goins just stated. I'm just as frustrated. I ride through the city every day, trying to look at every little inch. And I have the same issues with a lot of our right-of-ways. We know, just like our contractors know, when the rain season is coming. There's a forecast. And we're just being treated, it seems like the city's been treated like a second-class citizen, it's like they just, they're collecting their paychecks and they're getting their money, and we're getting substandard services, and I don't appreciate that. I don't like that. I think we deserve better. There's some areas I was looking at today. You know, we got Jackson Street, drive down Jackson Street, the right of way there. I mean, certainly we covered the ditches up. We put in the storm drains. Now those storm drains are full of pond fronds and debris that's actually causing the water to back up in that area. And it's like, but it's pond fronds from the city. It's from the right of way of the city. And no one's picking them up. No one's trimming the trees. No one's taking care of the dead pond fronds. And they're just piling up. And then, of course, we got another issue with waste management, and I'm gonna call it out. You know, we got a lot of green waste throughout the city that's not being picked up. I don't know what the problem is. You drive through every day. They're green when they go out there, and weeks later they're brown, and they're still there week in and week out. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I mean, it's a part of what we're paying for, the services that we're paying for. And once again, it's substandard services in the city of Cocoa, and it stinks. We deserve better than that. And then I was looking at the Speedway on 520 and Fisk. There's got to be 100 pond fronds all over that. That place is like a dump. And but the thing about it is what people see as they're driving through our city. And then we can't always wait on someone to come and clean it up. Let's take a picture and let's go in there and clean it up, and we'll send it to the owner or whatever. But this right here has to do with a lot of the pond fronds I think that the city is responsible for. I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, it's just, man, we deserve better. And, you know, that's why, you know, when I talk about fees and assessments, you know, the increases, it ain't so much, it's not so much that particular item, but it, you know, like stormwater and fire assessment fees, it's just, people say we give and we give and we give, and look what we get, you know, and it's just, we got to do better about taking pride in our city, and that's from everyone. I mean, that's the staff, that's the citizens, the residents of Cocoa, everyone. I mean, we got to take pride in our community. It's just frustrating to ride through the city sometime and just see some of the stuff that I see. I mean, and I know some of you all see it too. It's frustrating for me, because I know we can do better as a city. And but anyway, on Jackson Street, if you look at some of the storm drains there, they're covered. I mean, they're fully covered. The standing water there, and it's just, I don't get it, you know. And then I look at Washington Street, the flooding there. That was a problem that was created. Whoever put that road in and whoever did that road and the way they graded it, has nothing to do with the homes that were there. It's the way the road was done. I mean, it's obvious. I know I'm frustrated. I'm very frustrated, and I'm sick of talking about it, but something needs to be done. And then 1108 Peachtree Street. We do the second phase of the Peachtree Street project that took a lot of years. Finally get that done. The elevation of the road goes up a little bit, and the daycare is flooded. I mean, they actually have to wear wading boots to get the kids out of they pick the kids up to take them into their classes and back to their vehicles. I go across the street. There's a storm drain over there, but there's no storm drain on the opposite side across from it, where there's no pipe going to it, connected to it, so that probably can drain off, you know, when the city elevated the street. So they didn't have that issue before, but it's there now. It's just a lot of silly stuff that needs to be addressed, and I don't know how we got here. I feel for some of the folks that are having to deal with this day in and day out, you know. For some of us, we go home and we're nice and dry. We don't have to deal with this, but this is frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating. And something needs to be done. People need to see something happening in their community. And but I'm not going to beat on this too much more. And then Provost Park. I look at the swings there. All the mulch is pretty much gone. Everything is underwater there. I mean, it's just that no one's built up underneath the swing sets there. There's no mulch. It's all gone. It's just like little ponds all over the place here. I mean, it goes everywhere from our sidewalks to our streets to our parks, and it's like in our medians and our intersections. It's like, man, you know, we got to do better than this. I'm just, if we're gonna change our image, if people are gonna look at us in a different way, if we're gonna attract people to our community, we need to change what's happening. And we need to invest more into our communities and our infrastructure. So, but, Councilman Goins.
Well, I just had a question, maybe just as far as process. So when the engineer brings us a plan on any project, and it goes to the process of review, do we automatically take the existing grade that they bring us on that plan and just do we check that, or is it just because the engineer brought it to us, it's automatically approved? That's a question I have.
Well, I'm not an engineer,
Okay.
but, I mean, I can let Ed and Jack answer that. They review projects that are submitted. Most of the road work would be the city engineer, which would be Ed's responsibility.
Okay. Nancy, you had something too?
If you wanted to chime in.
Yeah, the plans that are prepared usually by a professional engineer, they go through usually the Water Management District for additional review. Our staff reviews them. Stormwater engineer will look at them and verify them. Just so you're aware, retrofit projects are very difficult.
Yes. Yeah.
Peachtree Street was almost flat. It had no curb and gutter. You add curb and gutter to an existing roadway with existing buildings. It's not like designing a new subdivision. It's very difficult. As far as the childcare, there isn't a fix identified. We're going to put a pipe in from Bar Avenue to the back corner. That should take most of the water. So that, locates have been called in. You have to give so many days for the locates, and that'll be implemented within a week or two.
Do you recommend her putting a small retention pond in that corner, like something? Because right now there's nothing there. That's pretty much the lowest point. Is that something that I can talk to her about maybe possibly digging a retention in that area?
We're going to put a 12-inch pipe or so in a drain there. So
Okay. All right,
the water should just be able to go away.
Okay.
If she has some other low spots that can't get to that, she may have to, regrade a little bit, but the shots show that that corner is about the lowest corner.
Okay.
Which is in back, not on Peachtree. So,
Right. Yeah.
Okay, just,
All right, that's it.
and just two other things. The sharing center, I know we annexed that road in, and there's no sidewalks there. We've had that discussion. But it was just heartening to see students waiting on the bus in the road there in front of their homes because there is no sidewalks there. They're actually standing in the roads. And seeing individuals walking to the sharing center in the morning, and in the morning hours, there's quite a few that come through there. But we really need to do something, move on doing that, because I hate to see someone hurt on that street, because as I say, a lot of the folks are in mobility scooters. And we need to look at hopefully moving something up with putting a sidewalk there. Really needs one. And then also, that was a sharing center, and then, Councilman Goins brought up several months ago about the mobile vending. Where are we at with that? That paperwork. I mean, we wanted some information on mobile vending in the city of Cocoa. Is there anything on that yet, or months ago?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there's been staff discussion. There's a follow-up meeting scheduled currently, and then it would come back to you in the form of a workshop, so we can openly discuss that and move that item forward.
Okay. Yeah, it was just brought up to me, and I was just curious where we were with that, so I hadn't heard anything, and I know it'd been a while, so. Okay, with that being said,
Motion to adjourn.
got a motion from Councilman Bover, second from Councilman Goin. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.